And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
شيء عجيب سبحان الله الخالق. شوف الأشجار شيء رهيب. اللهم صل على رسول الله. طيب أنا والله أول مرة شفت كذا. بعدين قوي 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 والهواء يلعب بيمين وشمال.
看不看？过去了，卷起来了。看不看见？刚从这儿路过，这片被和成这个样子。这边房子已经被它给周没了。树木全部干死了，干倒。现在已经往那边走了。
这龙卷风刚才在那大山里头老大了，现在看完着进正安屯了，长寿啊，进老长寿屯了。现在小多了，刚才那家伙老大了，操他妈的！这大龙卷风，哎，看看，看看，哎呦我操你妈来了，快跑啊！来了来了，撵来了，撵来了我讲，哎呦我操他妈！
Новая стихия. Дорога на Яндыке из Лимана.
Ребят, мне кажется, начинается вторая буря. Смотрите, как чисто, небо голубое. И смотрите, как идет со стороны Калмыкии.
А с другой стороны ужасная погода.
Jumlah tarafı tasavvur kurlar tıkırda.
qué bestialidad, macho. 74 people do not have a home after a massive fire that you're looking at right now tore through an Aurora apartment building. The entire structure is off limits while the fire is being investigated, and some of the tenants are now sharing new concerns with Denver 7's Lance Hernandez over the building's fire safety system.
He didn't hear anything, he didn't see anything, he didn't even hear the alarms go off.
Questions tonight about whether the fire alarm system was 100% operational in Building E at the Park Place at Expo Apartments in Aurora, where a 3-alarm fire raced through the structure Friday night.
I heard my neighbors screaming, "Hey, get out, here is fire!"
This tenant, who asked to remain anonymous, watched anxiously as firefighters used ladders to rescue people and pets.
I saw firefighters take out the old lady from up there.
When we first talked to this tenant, he was worried about some pet birds he had to leave behind.
He really wants to get them out. He didn't have a chance to get anything out at all.
Are they still alive?
That's what we don't know.
Aurora Fire Rescue says EMTs evaluated 5 people and transported 1 to a local hospital. No life-threatening injuries. A spokeswoman says they called in 3 alarms because of the amount of smoke and number of people trapped.
But I saw smoke coming by my window.
Cameron Ward says he didn't hear the alarm until he shut down his electronics.
When I went out into the corridor, there was so much smoke, I couldn't see anything really. I couldn't see the walls, I couldn't see the carpet.
He says he should have gotten down on his hands and knees, but his first instinct was to get out. The tenant who left his pet birds behind was able to get them out this afternoon.
Their reaction that they found him alive.
They're happy. Very happy.
At least 31 units have been impacted by the blaze. No word on how it started. The Red Cross helping those without a place to stay. Lance Hernandez, Denver 7.
A peaceful border, now political fault line. In BC, pressure from the business community.
The lack of clarity means that we could lose out to other international jurisdictions which have been more clear on their reopening plans.
In New Brunswick, local health officials say they're ready to reopen the border with Maine on July 1st. And in Alaska, Governor Mike Dunleavy recently traveled to the Canadian border to share vaccine supply, an olive branch of sorts.
With all the history of the U.S.-Canada cooperation is that we don't have a plan, we don't have a clear vision of what a coordinated reopening looks like.
Matt Morrison is part of the Seattle-based nonprofit binational Pacific Northwest Economic Region, made up of elected and business officials in 5 states and 5 Canadian provinces, and authored a letter this week pushing for a reopening.
It's pretty desperate up along the border.
As of right now, the border is closed to all non-essential travel through June 21st. With Canada Day on July 1st and Independence Day on the 4th, speculation is swirled.
If I had to bet, I would think that the U.S. is likely to move sooner than Canada.
Dr. Lori Troutman is the director of Western Washington University's Border Policy Research Institute and believes the U.S. could reopen the land border this month, separate from any Canadian policy change, which could come later.
I think they're getting pretty close, likely to implementing a situation where I, as an American traveler, can upload my vaccine status through their 𝐉𝐼𝐍 platform, which is an app that's currently used for all entries into Canada.
That would likely provoke another controversy as we head toward another hurdle on the road to recovery. If you're a betting man, what do you think happens June 22nd?
I think that the U.S. is ready to open up, and Canada is not.
That leads to the theory that Canadians could travel into the U.S. but then be forced to quarantine for a couple of weeks upon their return, which potentially would deter any sort of tourism in our area, which is why Morrison is saying tonight that both sides of the border need to have a coordinated plan before June 21st. That is the story for now. Live as we know it on the Seattle waterfront, I'm Chris Daniels.
Flames and thick black smoke at an apartment fire in New Jersey. Good evening, I'm Jessica Moore. Firefighters have been at that apartment building in Fort Lee since late this afternoon. CBS 2's Corey James is there with the developing details. Corey.
And Jessica, this fire happened about 5 hours ago, a little more than 5 hours rather, and crews right now, they're still out here battling some of the flames. Much of their efforts taking place on the roof of the building. You can see ladder trucks on multiple sides of it, and crews have been putting out flames all afternoon, all evening, pockets of them still appearing into the night. But take a look at this video of people being rescued earlier this afternoon. This is an apartment building on Hudson Terrace and Myrtle Avenue near Palisades Interstate Parkway. The fire happened at around 3:30 this afternoon, and we spoke with the woman who says she lives in this building. She's been living here for about 2 months and happened to be in Queens at the time the fire broke out. She rushed here worried about her bird.
I'm more concerned about my bird right now, but I bought all my new furniture and my life is here in New Jersey, Fort Lee, but I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm just thinking about my bird, that's it.
Yeah, clearly very emotional there. Now back here live again, you can see some of the efforts that are underway right now. You can also see some of the damage. There's some openings on the building where it appears that a lot of destruction, damage happened as a result of this fire that happened at around 3:30 today. It is unclear what started the fire and if there are any injuries, but at this time we're still waiting to speak with officials and learn more about what took place. Of course, as soon as we get that information, we'll bring the very latest to you. But now we're live here in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Corey James, CBS 2 News.
Another crime tracker tonight. The search for suspects continues after a deadly shooting outside a popular Nashville bar. This happened around 9 Friday night in the Gulch outside of Bar Louie on 11th Avenue South. The victim had just stepped outside to smoke a cigarette. News 2's Nikki McGee is live there tonight. She spoke with people who saw that shooting unfold. Nikki, it's a very different scene out there tonight.
That's right, Elizabeth. Well, just 24 hours ago, this corner behind me was filled with panic and police cars. As you can see, Bar Louie is still closed this evening. People who were here last night tell me they now have safety concerns in this area.
Out of nowhere, it's like, bam, right? And immediately I looked at Nick and I said, that's a gun.
Tim Davis says he's glad to be home in Mount Juliet after Friday night shooting in the Gulch. Davis had been sitting on the patio with a friend just feet away from where the shooting killed 30-year-old Timothy Fields. Davis took cover in the bathroom.
I thought back on it, I'm like, here we are in the bathroom. There's other people in here. You're cornered if it's an active shooter, right? So if they make their way back to that area, you're cornered and you're sort of like ducks in a pond, so to speak, right?
Meanwhile, Michael Bromley was sitting at the bar during the shooting.
The man that passed away came into the front doors of the bar begging for help and collapsed on the ground.
A reality that set in with Bromley as people were fleeing.
And everybody was so concerned about themselves that nobody was helping him. And once I realized there's no more gunshots, I crawled across the floor and I tried to do what I could, which is absolutely nothing because I just applied pressure.
But it was an act of bravery in a place no one expected to see a shooting Friday night.
Being so close to downtown and so close to a police precinct that something like this could happen, it just goes to show your zip code doesn't define your safety.
A concern Davis shares.
I think it's really concerning overall. I mean, you look at the number of people that are downtown from the Gulch all the way going back to Broadway, right? Those crowds are enormous. You kind of feel like everything's safe. It did raise the awareness, like you need to be aware of your surroundings. Like you need to know where exits are, you need to know how to leave should something happen.
Tonight, police are still looking for a couple wanted for questioning after the shooting. They're looking for a man and woman who arrived in a Nissan Altima. The man had facial tattoos and dreadlocks with red tips. Any information can be submitted anonymously by calling Nashville Crime Stoppers. Their number is 615-74-CRIME. Reporting live from downtown Nashville, Nikki McGee, back to you.
A lot of San Diegans reported feeling the earthquake that shook a few minutes before 11 o'clock this morning. That's when a 5.3 magnitude quake hit in Imperial County. It was centered near the town of Calipatria. That's between El Centro and the Salton Sea. SDSU geologist Dr. Pat Abbott says a small fault in a very active area delivered that big jolt.
That's an area where we have swarms of earthquakes so much of the time. Here it looks like it's the Westmoreland Fault, a fault that is not real long. Maybe maximum capability is something like a 5.8 magnitude.
This morning's quake set off dozens of aftershocks in the area throughout the day, some as strong as a 4.4.
Just want to quickly update you on the fact that we had an earthquake happen not too long ago, about 5:15 or so. Local time, just east of San Jose. You can see that's where that star is, showing you where the epicenter is. According to the most recent shake map, only 3 people have responded saying they've reported feeling it, and their characterization has just been sort of just light shaking.
Wait, only 3 people said they felt a 3.6, which
more will come in, I suspect. Yeah, but
3.6 is respectable. I mean, that's like a decent wake-up call.
Yeah,
you know?
You'd certainly expect to feel some shaking in the area. So stay tuned. We'll probably have more people reporting to the USGS that they did feel something, but luckily it happened high enough up in the foothills there of the Diablo Range that it's not too populated.
Right.
Up by Mount Hamilton, that kind of thing. It's pretty remote.
That's it.
So luckily, that's all we get out of it this morning.
Contact us if you felt it.
There you go.
Stanley has experienced a lot of seismic activity lately. The last sizable earthquake had a magnitude of 3.4 that shook around 2:15 this afternoon. There was also a 3.6 magnitude quake about 22 miles northwest of Stanley yesterday around 10:20 in the morning. These are the latest of what geologists call an earthquake swarm, but don't be alarmed, this is pretty common.
This is CBS 2 News at 5 p.m.
And good Saturday evening, everyone. I'm Chris Holmstrom.
And I'm Hermela Argawi. Sarah Donchi is off tonight. A swarm of earthquakes today near Salton Sea in Imperial County.
Yeah, the largest of magnitude 5.3. It was felt by some even here in LA, but these swarms, they're not unusual for this border region. CBS 2's Rick Monson is live in Hollywood with what experts are saying. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Chris and Hermela, you know, the quake swarm today is big enough for certainly seismologists and people around Southern California who felt it to get very excited, but not too huge, according to seismologists we talked to today. Let's show you where it happened. Again, this is in the Imperial Valley. It's south of the Salton Sea. It's a place that Dr. Lucy Jones says is known to have quake swarms about once a year. The largest today was this morning, as we mentioned, a 5.3 magnitude quake. There have been at least 24 other quakes at a magnitude 3 or higher, some of those happening within minutes of each other. But so far, fortunately, no damage has been reported. Dr. Jones says there is no exact prediction for how long the swarms last. They just stop when they stop. Typically, they last about a day or two, she tells me. This happened on a fault known as Westmoreland. It's in a seismic zone that connects to the San Andreas fault line.
It's a place that's had lots of earthquakes in the past, so it's not a surprise. One thing a lot of people are asking is it's so close to the San Andreas, what does that mean? And it's not close enough to the San Andreas to mean anything.
And for a lot of people, this also begs the question, could a bigger earthquake come out of this quake swarm? And Dr. Lucy Jones says the likelihood of that happening is about a 5% chance, but there is still a chance. This swarm of earthquakes, though, serves more as a reminder today for all of us to be ready in case there is a big earthquake to hit. Live in Hollywood, Rick Montanez,
CBS 2 News at 5 p.m.
And good Saturday evening, everyone. I'm Chris Holmstrom.
And I'm Hermela Argawi. Sarah Donchi is off tonight. A swarm of earthquakes today near Salton Sea in Imperial County.
Yeah, the largest of magnitude 5.3. It was felt by some even here in LA, but these swarms, they're not unusual for this border region. CBS 2's Rick Monson is live in Hollywood with what experts are saying. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Chris and Hermela, you know, the quake swarm today is big enough for certainly seismologists and people around Southern California who felt it to get very excited, but not too huge, according to seismologists we talked to today. Let's show you where it happened. Again, this is in the Imperial Valley. It's south of the Salton Sea. It's a place that Dr. Lucy Jones says is known to have quake swarms about once a year. The largest today was this morning, as we mentioned, a 5.3 magnitude quake. There have been at least 24 other quakes at a magnitude 3 or higher, some of those happening within minutes of each other. But so far, fortunately, no damage has been reported. Dr. Jones says there is no exact prediction for how long the swarms last. They just stop when they stop. Typically, they last about a day or two, she tells me. This happened on a fault known as Westmoreland. It's in a seismic zone that connects to the San Andreas fault line.
It's a place that's had lots of earthquakes in the past, so it's not a surprise. One thing a lot of people are asking is it's so close to the San Andreas, what does that mean? And it's not close enough to the San Andreas to mean anything.
And for a lot of people, this also begs the question, could a bigger earthquake come out of this quake swarm? And Dr. Lucy Jones says the likelihood of that happening is about a 5% chance, but there is still a chance. This swarm of earthquakes, though, serves more as a reminder today for all of us to be ready in case there is a big earthquake to hit. Live in Hollywood, Rick Montanez, CBS 2 News.
Now, I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing, but they did confirm an EF1 tornado touchdown in Jacksonville, or near the Long Green, at 4:51 yesterday, and estimated winds 95 miles per hour. Again, I haven't read the whole report because they just put out the statement, but yeah, if you were wondering and you live up this way, if it was a tornado, Weather Service sent a crew up there. They looked at the damage and did assess that an EF1 tornado touchdown in Baltimore County with sustained winds of around 95 miles per hour.
Blake, Galveston County officials have launched a survey to get an accurate count of just how many homes were damaged by flooding yesterday in Bay Cliff. An estimated 50 to 75 homes got water inside. Yesterday, they reported that 100 homes had been damaged. Galveston County is sending alerts to residents to submit a damage survey form so the county can get an accurate number. Homeowners in Bay Cliff spent today cleaning up.
It floods a lot. I've lived here for 5 years. Before, every time it would rain, even, it would flood. Last summer, they came out and they redid some of the culverts, but it's just not enough. I mean, we're stuck with all these damages.
Galveston County officials say the area got 8 inches of rain within a 2-hour period yesterday. They say the drainage system just
to Brooklyn now, where more than 100 passengers had to be evacuated after a ferry got stuck in the water. CBS 2's Jenna DeAngelis has more.
A ferry at a standstill in the Bushwick Inlet after it ran aground, taking on water. It's a sight taking many by surprise, standing alongside a fence to capture video and see it firsthand, like cyclist Andrew Littlefield.
Noticed the ferry like sideways in the water. I thought it might have been like an old boat or something that wrecked. Then I saw the police and the helicopter around and you guys and thought that's not normal.
Unless was trying to get in there for like an emergency reason, he needed to get in there and trying to park it and he just hit it. I mean, who knows?
The ferry company Sea Streak says just after 4 p.m. while traveling along the East River from New Jersey to 34th Street in Manhattan, the Commodore experienced a mechanical issue that caused the vessel to lose power and steering. It then slowly drifted into the inlet and came to rest along the shore.
Our units from multiple agencies arrived in under 4 minutes. We had nearby fire and police vessels already in the water due to a jet ski incident not far down the river.
The FDNY says 125 people were on board the boat, including 7 crew members. The NYPD Special Ops posting these pictures to Twitter showing the safe evacuation.
People were calm. You know, nobody likes to be, run a sandbar and run aground, but they were calm. Nobody panicked.
Sea Streak says prior to the vessel going aground, the captain and crew alerted the passengers to be seated and hold on, so nobody was hurt. One crew member was taken to the hospital for heat exhaustion.
If you see it, it's pretty cattywampus, so it must have hit it pretty hard.
The FDNY says they're winning the battle to remove water from the vessel, and of course the next step will be moving it from the inlet. The Coast Guard is investigating the incident. In Greenpoint, Brooklyn, Jenna DeAngelis.
New body camera video shows Newark police officers being attacked during an arrest. It happened Tuesday on Cypress Street. Police say they were trying to stop a man suspected of gun possession when two of the suspect's brothers interfered and had a struggle. Two officers suffered minor injuries. 4 men ended up getting arrested. In a statement, Newark's public safety director said in part, quote, "In today's climate where similarly minor incidents have resulted in unpredictable outcomes, our officers ensured that not one of the civilians involved was injured, and that is
Ian
highly..."
Morton is on the move.
So here is your list.
He's executive director of the Q Center in Northeast Portland, which got a plant and paint makeover Saturday with help from the Portland Trailblazers administration and Y East congregation.
Yeah, we're going to get some benches installed here.
But inside these walls,
should we take a little stroll through?
Is where the magic happens. The center offers a food pantry to those in need with a focus on vulnerable LGBTQ people, some who are homeless or out of work. The pantry is one of many services the Q Center offers, now getting a boost from a $20,000 Oregon Community Foundation grant.
Community comes to us and lets us know what their needs are.
That's Niati Desai with the foundation.
We have made the intentional shift to really prioritize communities that have been most impacted by the pandemic, but also celebrating the resilience within that community.
The Q Center is not the only organization getting some of this money. A few others are as well as they transition during the pandemic. The Oregon Community Foundation is giving $70,000 to LGBTQ-focused groups. Beyond These Walls is also one of them. It helps people who are incarcerated.
And it has to be unique support, and so that's what we do.
Biff Chaplow is the executive director.
What sort of issues do they face?
LGBTQ people have a harder time in prison. We see higher instances of sexual assault across the board or harassment from both staff and other peers that they're living with.
Grant money will help expand its efforts toward criminal justice reform and inmate treatment. Another group is Transponder in Eugene, connecting trans people with health and social services. All groups that face historic discrimination and, more recently, disproportionate impacts from COVID-19.
But it's really given us an interesting opportunity to sort of reformat what Q Center looks like.
And in a community that has been forced to evolve to survive, having extra support this time around means new life can grow from here. Galen Etlin,
overnight, federal authorities are investigating a security incident at Jacksonville International Airport. This is a live look through our Skycam at the airport. It started after a plane from Atlanta landed in Jacksonville around 12:30 this morning.
Passengers tell us they sat on the tarmac for about 3 hours. This as FBI agents and police officers arrived on scene. Here's a photo from a viewer after they were moved inside the airport while canines searched their bags. Passengers got the all clear about 2 hours ago.
News4Jax reporter Marilyn Parker is live at the airport this morning after speaking with passengers who were on the plane. Marilyn, what are they saying about this incident?
Well, you know, like everyone, they want to know what this security incident was all about. Having their bags searched by canines and waiting for hours on that tarmac was not how they wanted their early morning flight to go. Take a look at some of these photos we got from viewers, and to give you more of a timeline, the plane left Atlanta around 11:30, landed in JAX around 12:30. The director of external affairs says the plane landed far away from the airport. The man I spoke with on the flight says the pilot told passengers there was a brake problem initially. He says he looked out the window and he too realized just how far away the plane was from the airport. And he says they continued to wait.
This was like probably 30 minutes into the sitting on the tarmac. He goes, well, we just got a call saying that there's a potential security problem. We all looked at each other like, okay, elaborate. He said, well, we don't have any more information than that.
The director says authorities started escorting them off the plane into separate areas to be searched. We're told multiple cars and 3 buses came on the tarmac, taking passengers from the plane to customs for more searches and to be questioned. The man I spoke with also says they waited inside the airport for about an hour as those searches went on, still without any information, trying to figure out what happened. I reached out to the FBI this morning to see what their involvement was. We're still waiting to hear back. Once we learn more information, we'll update this story on news4jax.com. We're live at JAX, Marilyn Parker, Channel 4, the local
New at
station.
11, what's in the water? For 1/3 of testing sites in Pennsylvania, chemicals known as PFAs or forever chemicals linked to cancer and thyroid disease. The state DEP tested a random sample of more than 400 sites across the Commonwealth. It found only 2 results above the federal government's threshold for contamination, but more than 100 with some level of chemicals detected. PFAs are used in nonstick cookware, carpets, and other products. And some experts say even low levels can be harmful.
Also happening today, the Pittsburgh Pride Revolution March is taking place at noon. This will start downtown at the City County building. For more on the march, let's bring in Bryant Reed with some of the details. Bryant?
Hey, Brianna. Yeah, last year's march was actually canceled because of COVID-19, and this is something that leaders have been waiting to bring back. But believe it or not, this is actually the first Pride event in Pittsburgh that will be a collaboration of multiple LGBTQ+ organizations from across our area. Now, like many other things, there will be a mix of in-person and also virtual events that will take place this year. If you're looking for a parade route, it starts on Grant Street at the City County building, takes a left at 6th Avenue, continues down the Andy Warhol Bridge, and will come to an end at Allegheny Commons Park West. Now, organizers say bring your signs, bring your music, flags, and face masks to support. There will be food trucks and music performances and a Rocky Horror Show picture, all lasting through 6 p.m. today. Now, if by some chance you don't get the chance to make it, the events will continue Sunday with different local and national performances. For anybody that plans to show up either today or tomorrow, organizers just ask that you bring your mask. Reporting live downtown, I'm Brian Reed.
Thank you. An investigation shows a fire in a post office lobby is likely electrical. This happened overnight at the Church Street Post Office in Midtown. USPS officials are still assessing damage to the building, but there are no reports of injuries. In the meantime, they will place a mobile post office unit outside starting Monday. No word on when operations will resume.
What started as a fire in a recycling yard in Phoenix quickly spread into a Type 1 incident. At least 1 firefighter has been injured and power has been knocked out to hundreds. It sent thick black smoke into the air and a plume that could be seen for miles. Thank you for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Mitch Carr.
And I'm Rachel Cole. You know, more than 200 firefighters have been working to contain that massive fire. And Team 12's Josh Sanders has been live at the recycling plant all day long tracking this situation for us. It started near 36th Ave and Lincoln. That's where Josh is right now with the very latest. Good evening, Josh.
Yeah, that fire is so big that they've now deemed it a Type 1 incident fire, usually for wildfires. And there's a lot of material that burns because this is the hottest day of the year.
So right now, this is the largest response from the Phoenix Fire Department in history.
Saturday, more than 200 firefighters representing 10 different agencies battling the recycling yard fire in Southwest Phoenix.
In some of these commercial buildings, we have tires, we have a lumber yard, and we have recycling parts, whether it's dishwashers or appliances.
Call started around 12:30 in the afternoon, the fire escalating past a 6-alarm fire into a Type 1 incident, typically seen in wildfires. The plume of smoke even picked up by the National Weather Service radar.
We saw the smoke in the sky. We thought it was smog at first, and then as we kept getting closer and closer to the city, it just kept getting darker and darker, and then we finally saw the funnel point. You just don't see this. It's close to home.
At one point, the fire jumping 35th Avenue, multiple commercial buildings and homes evacuated, high winds and heat adding to the fight.
That wind was blowing east, and that's where those other businesses were. And when that east wind kicked up, it was starting to extend to those occupancies businesses. It's going to burn for a while. I can tell you that these firefighters are going to be out here throughout the night, putting out all remaining hot spots, and they're probably going to be out all the way through tomorrow also.
And to Captain Keller's point, well, the fire has reignited just west in the same yard of the recycling yard that the original fire started. It's continuing to burn, and firefighters are now being redeployed to attack those flames. And of course, there's that one firefighter that was sent to the hospital for non-serious injuries. We're in Southwest Phoenix.
Stories in a moment, but first we want to get you straight some breaking news. Take a look. All southbound lanes of the 60 freeway, they are once again open. Now, they were shut down for over an hour after a shooting that may have caused a crash.
It happened around 5:30 at Lower Azusa Road in Irwindale. KCAL 9's Rick Montanez is there live with us with the latest. Hi, Rick.
Hey guys, as we understand right now, the CHP is still looking for the shooter involved in this. But you can see behind me, the good news is the 605 freeway back open now. It was an all-out closure earlier. This happened within the last hour that they reopened the lanes. We want to give you a look from Sky 9 overhead just a short time ago. It was an all-out closure on the southbound lanes of the 605. What we understand right now is that moments after this car-to-car shooting, the white BMW involved crashed into the center divider. A woman, it appears, was driving, and then she had a male passenger with her. This is just happening just before the Lower Azusa off-ramp on southbound 605. Investigators are still trying to figure out what led to the actual shooting. As we mentioned, it happened around 5:30. It did not take long for CHP to close down the southbound lanes. We could see officers walking across the freeway, searching for evidence, presumably shell casings from that shooting. Of course, this is the latest in a string of shootings on freeways all across the Southland. The good news here is there are no reports of injuries from the shooting or from that car crash. As with the other shootings we've seen, drivers, of course, are concerned that an incident like this could lead to a crash that hurts or even kills someone. But again, investigators have taken their work off the freeway, and they're still looking for the shooter tonight. We are working to get the latest updates from them, and we will let you know when we learn them. Live in Irwindale, Rick Montanez,
fire burning east of the valley in the Tonto National Forest. The fire has grown to 25,000 acres, and it was only 7,000 this morning. Fire crews say it's showing extreme fire behavior, burning mostly dry shrubs and grass. Winds aren't helping either as they continue to push the fire outside of firefighter control. The towns of Superior and Top of the World are in set for evacuations. If you remember Ready, Set, Go, they are in the set situation. The fire is threatening around 150 homes, and the cause of this fire is still under investigation.
Good evening and welcome into News 2 at 10. I'm Elizabeth Lane. Alex Dennis has the night off. We start tonight with a crime tracker alert. Police are investigating a triple shooting in North Nashville. It happened at 5:15 on Brick Church Pike, just off I-24. 3 people were rushed to the hospital from the Days Inn. Metro Police didn't say much about the victims, but we know 2 were taken to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. That 3rd victim was taken to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. No word on their conditions, and investigators have not publicly identified suspects. Another crime tracker tonight. The search for suspects.
To that point, Bob, there was a lot of damage left behind. You can see Chopper 13 was over the area earlier today. Investigator Mike Hogan spoke with neighbors about the day that they spent cleaning up.
It was a tornado. Came and knocked the tree down.
Powerful storms blew through Baltimore, Harford, and Carroll counties Thursday, causing property damage but thankfully injuring no one. People were busy using heavy equipment to clean up downed trees in Jacksonville and Phoenix.
High winds, thunder, lightning, heavy rain.
Dorothea Chimolera ran for cover in her house on Overshot Court.
It was a blur of activity outside. You couldn't really see. I slammed the door and I went to the basement. You know, in the basement I could hear loud crashing, and it only lasted maybe 30 seconds.
The wind picked up, the rain picked up. There was a time when looking out our door or window from the house where you couldn't even see the woods because the rain was coming down so hard.
A tree crashed through this home on Robcast Road in Phoenix, narrowly missing the people inside. The owner says it's a miracle no one was hurt.
One of the trees came down into the roof. I turned around and my wife was covered in insulation and drywall on the steps. She almost got killed.
Chopper 13 shows you the damage from above. Trees sheared and thrown to the ground like matchsticks. A home that suffered minor damage. A large tree came just inches from smashing through the main part of the house. And more large trees toppled from the winds, one of them into a fence. The National Weather Service confirmed all this damage was caused by an EF1 tornado.
The house can be rebuilt and fixed and whatever needs to be done, but as long as everybody's good.
Now that tornado was on the ground for 4 minutes. It had a path 2 miles long and maximum winds of 95 miles an hour. In Phoenix,
welcome to Point 6 News at 10. I'm Wayne Haverly. In Clackamas County, just over an hour ago, reports of shaking and explosions into our newsroom. The U.S. Geological Survey sending out this alert for a 4.0 magnitude earthquake. It happened at 8:51 tonight, and the epicenter 4 miles from Government Camp, as it was about 4 kilometers.
Well, crews are still monitoring a brush fire that's burning in southwest Miami-Dade. Roughly 600 acres have already burned. Officials say it's currently 75% contained and that the recent rain has helped. Those flames broke out Sunday.
There's a huge sinkhole in the west side. As of now, it's 33 feet wide and almost 10 feet deep. You can see a business still standing, but so close to the sinkhole. Several officials got together to access the damage and put together a plan to repair it. No word yet what caused the sinkhole or how much it'll cost to fix it. Officials say it could take up to 45 days to fix once they get started.
A heads up, sky watchers. We have a Ring of Fire eclipse coming our way here in just a few days. Officially here on the 10th. This is going to kick off, and it's going to start off up around the area of Toronto. People on the east coast of the United States will have a shot at seeing this. And to different people, this has different meanings. There's omens that come with these eclipses, and this one will be a little bit different than, say, the blood moon that we had just witnessed. This time, the moon will be at its furthest point away from Earth. So when it crosses in front of the sun, it creates this ring of fire type of effect. Now, if you go through and you look at Bible verses, so to speak, they say that, for instance, Acts 2:20 states the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and notable day of the Lord. Some see this as a bad omen in terms of the ring of fire, saying destruction will be on its way. Well, regardless of all of that, it's going to happen, and it's going to be visible for many people, and it's going to start, like I said, at sunrise in Ontario, Canada. It's going to circle across the northernmost part of the globe. The path then continues north and ends over northeastern Siberia. This eclipse will last for about 100 minutes in total, and it will be visible from various different countries along the path. For about an hour and 40 minutes, this eclipse will be visible to spectators who are located in parts of the U.S., Canada, Russia, and Greenland. So, this is your chance to get out there and check it out. Cities like Toronto, Philadelphia, New York, they're all going to have a great chance at seeing this.
Killer machines taking over may be becoming a reality. A UN report has described what's believed to be the first case of a drone strike guided only by artificial intelligence without a human operator.
The lethal autonomous weapons systems were programmed to attack targets without requiring data connectivity between the operator and the munition. In effect, a true fire, forget and find capability.
Seems it happened in Libya in March last year. A Turkish-made Cargo-2 quadcopter opened fire on retreating fighters loyal to the renegade commander Khalifa Haftar. Although it's unclear from the UN report just how many casualties resulted from that strike. The use of fully autonomous weaponry has triggered alarm from rights groups. Human Rights Watch in particular has been campaigning for a global ban on killer robots, although so far no countries have enacted any such laws. We got the thoughts of former US Marine Corps intelligence officer Scott Ritter. He thinks there's no place in society for fully autonomous weaponry.
I would never argue for AI to be in the loop. I would always say that a human being has to be in the loop. You get the proper rules of engagement in place. And you have a human in the link who's properly trained, who's who is not going to allow the weapon system to be used in a manner which operates outside of the rules of engagement. And that's a weapon system that I would approve of in a combat type situation. Human Rights Watch and others who are seeking a total ban on these systems, they're just not going to succeed because unfortunately in war, every side is looking for an advantage, real or perceived. And right now, the Turks perceive that they have an advantage in terms
cars to robot companions to war fighters. Artificial intelligence is taking a prominent role across all industries. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, experts are concerned about losing the human touch. Self-driving vehicles are no longer futuristic, they're the here and now. But could this form of transportation, powered by artificial intelligence, overtake good old-fashioned driving?
I do think that the consumer relishes in humanity and in the rush of driving.
Gerson Moreno-Riano is the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Regent University, which has launched what's called Project Quantum, with a heavy emphasis on the ethics of AI.
Technology is very, very important. It's very useful, obviously, but ultimately is what we think about God, or a society or a culture thinks about God, and what a culture or society thinks about human beings and the nature of humanity that will drive how technologies are going to be used.
Moreno-Riano says the biggest danger is the possibility of humans getting lost as technology grows.
Families can acquire an AI robot, for example, an entity, place it in a nursing home, and rather than visiting their parents or family members there, they just place a robot. They can speak and learn and communicate with you, right? There are also AI applications that can perform funerals and religious rites. So you don't have to have an actual minister doing it, right? So it eliminates the need for humanity in some of these areas where we think humanity is most needed.
For centuries, science and industry have worked together to streamline life's daily chores and processes. Moreno Riano worries this latest chapter could turn humans into servants of these machines or the people who create them.
The dilemma is that most scientists and engineers that speak about this are not thinking about it.
Sounds like you're saying we have to be very careful in this process not to create Frankenstein.
Absolutely. Or to have somebody else create it for us and we just sit back and watch.
This debate also stretches into the military realm, where AI is becoming a go-to solution for deciding when and where to strike.
It's simple to just have a machine, for example, determine targets of opportunity, right? But what about the human element
Massive fire burning east of the valley in the Tonto National Forest. The fire has grown to 25,000 acres, and it was only 7,000 this morning. Fire crews say it's showing extreme fire behavior, burning mostly dry shrubs and grass. Winds aren't helping either as they continue to push the fire outside of firefighter control. The towns of Superior and Top of the World are in set for evacuations. If you remember Ready, Set, Go, they are in the set situation. The fire is threatening around 150 homes. And the cause of this fire
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm John Shumway. The hot weather did indeed bring that orange air quality action day in effect not only today, but continuing right through tomorrow as well. And it means young children, the elderly, and those with respiratory illnesses like asthma, emphysema, and bronchitis could face problems.
It can trigger their symptoms, and so they may notice that they're wheezing a little bit more. They may notice that it's a little bit hard for them to take deep, full breaths. A lot of times, you know, the particulate matter in the air could be a trigger for some people, and they may find that they're using their rescue inhalers more often on weather condition days like this.
So the best advice is to do what?
The best advice is actually to try to stay inside during the hottest part of the day. You actually want to, if you can, stay in air-conditioned rooms, you should stay there. If not, if you are going to be outside, try to limit how long you're going to be outside. And really, the best time to be outside doing anything such as mowing lawn, working in the yard, anything like that, is actually in the evenings as everything starts to cool down. As the air cools down, it gets actually, the quality goes up a little bit.
Yeah, and the state health department is encouraging all of us to help take steps like setting the air conditioning just a little bit higher, combine errands to reduce the number of trips you're making in the car, limit engine idling, and refuel.
Alabama is in jeopardy of losing COVID-19 vaccine doses if more people don't sign up for one and fast. WVTM 13's Chip Scarborough explains why the state is in a race against time.
The state of Alabama has nearly 1.5 million doses just sitting, waiting to be used. Some of those doses will expire at the end of this month.
We're continuing to rotate stock. We're continuing to move vaccine around so that we would minimize any expiration of vaccine.
The state says the last thing it'll do is wait until the last minute before taking action and risk losing those valuable doses.
If we don't utilize the vaccine, certainly we can actually request that that vaccine be sent to another state that is utilizing more vaccine and can use that vaccine before the expiration date.
The problem is that Alabama may not be able to get more vaccine later should the state need it. And with a fall and winter uptick possible, that is not a good thing.
And this virus is not going to go away. We're going to control the virus with the vaccinations, but it is not going to go away. And we absolutely cannot say strongly enough. I mean, I answer this question every day, all day long, about how important it is for people to be vaccinated.
In order for people to safely go about their daily lives. In Birmingham, Chip Scarborough, WVTM 13.
Now to that breaking news, multiple people have been shot in the Burnside neighborhood.
Judy Wang is live there this morning with details. Judy?
Good morning. 6 men and 2 women were wounded in this incident. The Chicago Fire Department reports several of them were in critical condition when paramedics took them to various hospitals in the city. One neighbor tells us that he believes that a party may have been going on before the gunfire erupted. Another says that people, it appeared to her, were taunting passing cars on the street. Residents say they heard at least 20 shots fired. This happened at about 4 this morning. Chicago police say the victims were on the sidewalk at 89th and Cottage Grove. 2 people in a silver sedan started shooting at the group One man was shot in the chest. Others were shot in the back, in the leg. A woman suffered a graze wound to her head. The victims range in age from 28 to 38. Paramedics took them to Stroger, UFC, and Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn. Area 2 detectives are still searching for the two shooters. A woman who came to the scene says that her daughter was shot and wounded a year ago, and the circumstances here were very similar to what happened.
It just hurts so bad, and then we talk about the police killing our people. What about we killing each other? What about that? You know, my heart just goes out to my city of Chicago police. My heart goes out to them. My prayers goes out to and parents. You know, when is it going to end?
Tanya Jones came out here to say a prayer for the victims of this incident. Now, this portion of Cottage Grove remains closed as police continue uncovering or looking for evidence as part of the investigation. There are several buildings in this church here that likely have security cameras that may be able to give police some clues as they try to figure out exactly what happened here. At 89th and Cottage Grove, Judy Wang, WGN News.
And topping your wildfire coverage right now, a massive fire is burning east of the valley in the Tonto National Forest. Now, this fire has grown to about 25,000 acres as we speak. Fire crews say it's showing extreme fire behavior, burning mostly dry shrubs and grass. Winds not helping out either as they continue to push the fire outside of firefighter control. Look at that. The towns of Superior and Top of the World are being told to prepare for evacuations. The fire is threatening about 150 homes. The cause, though, still under investigation.